Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Story number 1, Overkill, The Human Way, written by Teller of Tall Tales. My ship spun quietly through the void. The Reparan pirate ship chasing me closing in for the kill as my engine sputtered and spit their last belch of ions into the void. 8 days they've been chasing my ship. No doubt after the aether in my cargo hold. My distress beacon pinged quietly off into empty space. No one was coming. I was far too out of my transmissions to reach anyone but the pirates behind me, I suppose. I sat back in my piloting chair and slid all 4 hands behind my head. Nothing to do about it now. Might as well die comfortable. My beacon chirped and a hollow display popped up from the control panel. No doubt the pirate's here to taunt me again. This is Captain Leandra Norman of the VFS Fafo. We have your coordinates and we're on our way. Sit tight, we'll be there soon. I bolted upright just as I comprehended the words coming through the transmission. My ship spun slowly around, giving me a view of the pirate ship chasing me. Just a ship 6 the size burst from the warp portal, careening to a halt between my ship and the pirates. There was a tense moment where I assumed that they were establishing a communication link. Curiously, I got one as well. I opened it up and watched on in surprise. A red-haired female human stared intently at the Reparan pirate captain as the pirate confidently laid out some very unfair terms of surrender. The human was quiet for a moment before turning to her right and asking, "Do we have access to the ship's internal address system?" "Yes, sir." "Good." Captain Leandra cleared her throat as she stunned the pirate captain before speaking, her voice echoing back through the pirate captain's microphone. "This is Captain Leandra of the VFS Fafo. We have every gun in our arsenal trained on your ship. Surrender now, or you will come to understand the meaning of our ship's namesake." The pirate captain laughed raucously at the human's absurd request. Closing the comms link with a snort, Captain Leandra sighed. "All right, time for the fireworks, boys." I looked out of the viewport just as my ship spun back around to view the 2 ships as they faced off. The tiny VFS Fafo was suddenly bathed in light as missiles erupted from every surface on the ship and careened towards the pirates. The pirates' point defense systems detonated several, but there were still hundreds that slipped past and detonated against the pirate ship's hull in a blinding flashes of nuclear fire. The pirates fired back, a railgun slug discharged from their massive cannons mounted on their ship's nose. I watched in awe as a streak of light did a complete 180-degree loop around the VFS Fafo shields and shot right back down the barrel of the cannon that it was shot from. Fire erupted from the ruined barrel. The pirate ship began to turn, trying to expose its broadside and gain usage of its plasma cannons. But something about the electricity arcing over the VFS Fafo's hull made me think that they might not get the chance. As lasers began to be reflected by the VFS Fafo shields, she fired whatever she'd been charging. The pirate ship burst into 2 just as my ship spun to face away from the battle. I waited with bated breath as the 2 ships came back in view. Correction. As the 2 ships and a fucking planet-ender-sized asteroid that had biscuited the pirate ship. "Well, that shouldn't bother anyone anymore. Would you like assistance with repairs?" I nearly jumped out of my skin at the sound of the captain's voice. Finding my words, I asked hesitantly, Did you guys just warp an asteroid into that pirate ship?" Captain Leandra nodded pridefully. "Oh yeah, this is old tech though. God, I wish we could shell out the funds for a newer model. We'd have encased them in the asteroid." I was speechless for a very long time. I shook my head in disbelief. The pirate ship was an easy 5 kilometers long and a good 3 kilometers tall and wide. How?" Captain Leandra laughed merrily. "We find an asteroid, install an extended stay warp drive and generator in its core, send it into warp space without an exit destination, so it's pretty much stationary. Then we just open an exit warp where we need it, forward it to the exit warp's coordinates to the asteroid and, She mimed something exploding in her hands. I tried to stop my hands from shaking as I took in that information. "You humans, scare me, but, yes, I would like help with the repairs." End of story. Story number 2. The Race of the Blood Gods, written by alcoholic historian. The high priest could barely contain his fear after the session. His hands shaking, his sweat raining all over his body, a strong headache numbing his vision. "What is it? What did you see?" Admiral Kazat, Orc, demanded of the shaking priest. "Compose yourself! This is a matter of state security," he screamed, his patience running low. His subordinates and assistants, frightened by the state of their high priest, the beacon of their faith in this world. High Priest Akkad was not easily frightened. He had seen the depths of the high realm before, where the consciousness of the abstract roamed real and free, even from a psionic species like his own. Amongst the Nerhi, he had managed to reach the level of elevated ascendance as he did. I had never imagined," he tried to articulate, still holding his head with his sweaty blue hands, his 14 fingers feeling like Opversian soup. "Akkad, I'm getting really concerned right now. I've never seen you like this," Admiral Orc said, his impatience turning into anxiety. Sorry, I'm trying to pull myself together," Akkad managed to say, slowly sitting on the floor to the altar of eternity, looking at the idols of the Mother Goddess and her Celestials with a sense of loss and dizziness. "Whatever you saw, I see by your reaction is not something to take lightly," said the Admiral, now trying to empathize with the tired priest by sitting by his side. You'd be right," said Akkad, now more or less capable of focusing on the conversation. "I saw not what you did, but surely it couldn't be something that you haven't seen before, nothing we couldn't deal with." "I wish that were the case. I wish you were right, but the truth of the high realm is indisputable," said the now grieving-looking priest. "How so, Akkad? The deities of the high realm have always been something our priesthood could deal with. Even the gods of the other races are within your habilitas." "Not these ones. These ones are not something I or any other ordained one could deal with." "What do you mean?" "These gods are made me channel. They are like nothing I've ever seen, or even conceived before. Nothing like our Celestials, or the gods of any other race I've dealt with," said the priest, his face not changing from his concerned state. Akkad knew something was off ever since the Admiral brought in the offering for the ritual. It wasn't so much his psionic senses, but more like a physical feeling, like being watched in the dark, not being able to fathom from where such praying eyes come from. The military laid him in front of him a collection of holy artifacts from the species barely known gods. 5 holy books, 7 small statues, 4 paintings, and 5 small undetermined amulets, all of them belonging to the cults of different deities. From this enigmatic species, the Federal Assembly of the Nahana Nations was at the verge of war with, over the reluctance to abandon a system the Nerhi had intention to colonize first. These items were secretly collected after several simultaneous covert operations around trade posts, ships, and cultural and diplomatic institutions of the species. "Channeling them was hard. That was already unusual, like if I was not worthy of their presence," the priest explained. "With every touch of their holy relics, my grasp onto the high realm was less and less on my control. I was being taken over and detained. I spiraled around in unknown places, cities of gold, silver, and gems, ethereal cloud, and harmonious music, exotic domains I have never seen other deities possess, even our own mother." "Blasphemy!" one military aide said. "How could you defile their position like this, insulting the glory of the mother of all?" "A glory small on par of rivers and blood and cities of marble," snapped Akkad at the young aide, descending into a frenzy of anxiety and erratic anger. "I've seen their power, their authority over their children. I've seen the devotion of their kind. Lakes of rivers and oceans of blood spilled in their names. The greatest glories and the worst of atrocities in service of their own heaven." "Akkad, calm yourself," ordered the Admiral, completely taken back by the sudden outburst of emotions of the famously stoic High Priest. His orders unanswered as the prophetic madness continued. "And they saw me, they saw us, our people and our Celestials. Can you believe the Mother herself frightened by their might, their faces of imperium over souls? Life, death, and blood, blood Our blood, they told me. At this point, the Admiral knew something went terribly wrong, and ordered his aides to escort the High Priest with his own acolytes to be contained and treated. And as the High Priest was taken away, a primordial fear of persecution overcame him as he heard the warnings of the inconsolable Ikaad. Leave their children alone, they'll be our doom. Yahweh will burn our cities. Braham will curse our lines. The Great Spirit will strike. Can you see? Doom, they told me. Kali will delight in our hearts. Tengri shall feast in our blood. Their children, Admiral. Take him out already, Orc uttered in desperation. Their Mother Mary warned me. Peace or absolute doom. Hear them, Admiral. Hear their warning. The Federal Assembly trusted Ikaad. He had never been wrong, although dissent was strong. The covert pressure coming from the military finally guided their decision. By majority, the Assembly voted in favor of withdrawing their claims to the system in favor of the United Nations of Earth. While many doubted the warnings of the High Priest, his vindication would come after humanity was attacked by the scourging Laraki. The proud empire of enslaving cannibal reptiles took human diplomacy for weakness, and in a surprise attack glassed their colony of Alpha Centauri and enslaved and, in some cases, ate the survivors. The ancient and cruel empire of monsters that had survived 1,000 enemies and tribulation finally put to the torch by humanity, thirsty for blood and hungry for retribution. The worlds of the reptiles in ruin, their slaves taking revenge, and their armies crushed by humanity, who sang in praise of their victories to their gods. No one doubted Ikaad, however, again, not after all other priests heard the gods of the Luraki, as they screamed in horror and pain as the hands of an unknown enemy, a weeping human lady in white and blue robes being the only image that could be channeled over the screams. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.